All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day of SaberSim's DFS office hours. Today is Tuesday, February 3rd of 2026. Looking ahead here, we had some League of Legends and tennis action get underway earlier this morning. Good luck to all of you playing those sports. For the rest of the evening, we have an 8-game NBA main slate and a 7-game NHL main slate. So should be a fun day of DFS. For those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is Andrew, one of the coaches over here at SaberSim. This is a show where we go over how to use the SaberSim app, answer any and all DFS-related questions, get questions in one of three ways here. First off, send us an email, support@sabersim.com. Second, post it live in the YouTube chat. Third way, post it in the office hours channel in our Discord server. If you're not in our Discord and want to get access to that channel, there is a link in the description of this video. You also get access to our similar channels, individual sport channels, and you get access to the rest of the SaberSim team. Just can't say enough good things about the Discord. But with that said, we do this show Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern, and then we do this show on Saturdays at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. So you can tune in any one of those days to get your questions answered. All right. With that said, let's get SaberSim pulled up on the screen. But we'll get a slate pulled up as well. Quick reminder, we will only have office hours Monday through Thursday of this week. We will not have our normally scheduled Friday and Saturday office hours. So just want to make everybody aware of that. Now, we did have a couple questions come in prior to the show. Snowman said, good day. Almost baseball season. Baseball season is quickly approaching. I think what is on my mind and is approaching a little bit quicker is NASCAR season. I believe that this Wednesday, tomorrow, is the Clash, and then the week after the Super Bowl is Daytona. So NASCAR is right around the corner, and then baseball is not far behind. All right. So as far as questions go, we did have one question, or we're going to start here and then roll through the other ones. But either way, first question of the day. I'm on the starter package and playing about 10 lineups a day for the NBA slate. I see people on here having good nights, but I've been struggling bad, usually only one or two lineups cash. What can I do or should do to see better results? Okay, good question. So part of this is understanding the payout structures of the contests, okay? Now, when you go to the contest tab, and we go over to this cash percent section, okay? Look at these numbers, 22, 20, 25. We're going to ignore this qualifier, 22, 21, 23, 23, right? What does it actually mean? This means that on average, you're going to cash about 2 out of 10 lineups, right? 20 to 21, 22, 23% is 2 to 2.5-ish lineups out of 10. So like what you're describing is kind of an average outcome. And this is why we really recommend playing the low stakes contests and playing a lot of lineups and giving yourself more shots on goal. So the way we recommend choosing your contest, okay, you can come into the contest tab and you can actually do this. I have a video showing how to do this. We're going to do it right now, but just in case anybody watches this and then wants to, kind of go back and try it again, you can find this video in the office hours channel in Discord, pinned messages. Go to setting up contest selection filters in the contest tab. Okay, this is what we're going to walk through right now. So this is going to help you choose the best contests to play on any given day. So what I would do first is go find fee and set this less than $3. Okay, check. Number 2, click on effective entrance. So you see effective entrance high to low. Now where I would start are the effective entrance contests greater than or equal to 300. Okay. Last thing I would do is I would set top prize greater than or equal to your daily wager. Let's say you're playing $50. Okay. I want first place to be greater than or equal to $50. This is effectively where I want to start. These are the contests I want to play. I want to play the daily dollar, and then I want to play the and one, and then I want to play the elbow shot, quarter jukebox, and then the large 50-cent mini max. This would give me 21, 23, 28, plus 75, $103 in action if I were to play all of these contests. Now, this is your starting point. You can effectively loosen the restrictions as you need to. Hey, Andrew, I'm going to play $200 today. Okay, so top prize greater than or equal to 200. This obviously isn't 200, these max fees, if you were to max all these out. So what do we do? Well, I would probably start by loosening the effective entrance. I'm going to go from 300 to 100. Okay, that didn't add any contests. Okay, so then what I would do is probably go lower, like 50. Okay, great. We got a qualifier. We're going to leave that one alone. So now that I'm kind of tapped out here, I would go to fee, and then I would say, hey, show me contests less than maybe $5. Okay, great. That adds the 4-point play. That's a new one here, right? That also adds the hot shot. So now we just got an extra $89 in good action, right? Still high effective entrance. And these are contests that we would want to play. So that gets us 89. We were already at 103. That gets us to 192, right? That's really close to this 200 marker that we've set. And then you just expand these out, right? Okay, after we go $3 and then less than $5, then we just get rid of fee completely. Now there's a couple other good contests, $5 single, $12 single entry. We could consider the 40 if you really wanted to. And then you just continue to work your way down this list. So start tight, open it up. You're going to start with the contests that, one, the Sharks can't play under $3. High effective entrance means it takes a large number of unique users to max out that contest. And there's only so many good players in the lobby. So the chances that there are bad players filling up those additional entries goes up, and that is good for your overall ROI. These are probably the contests that you want to start with. So I would start with those. That's going to get you a lot of entries, right? If we just go back to where we were at, even with 300 less than 3, we were at, I think, 100. This gets you 1, 21, 22, 42. This gets you 192 entries. So automatically you go from having 10 lineups to having 192 lineups. I don't know what your daily wager is. You got to figure, you got to set that first, right? And then kind of adjust. If my daily wager is lower, my daily wager is $50. Okay, great. Start from the top down. That would have got you $23, $28. Enter the last 22 into the 50-cent mini max. And then you play 44 lineups. And that's okay. You don't have to max out every contest that you play. All you're doing is saying, hey, I'm going to enter my 44 best lineups, and I'm not going to enter 45 through 150, right? Because you should be entering your best lineup, second best, third best. So you're just entering a smaller portion of your best lineups. So that is what I would do here, especially struggling playing 10 lineups. You're going to have to go low stakes. You're going to have to get more lineups, and then that is going to help smooth out your results. All right. Next question. Hi, Andrew. I was hoping you could walk me through how you approach selecting a lineup for high stakes tournaments. Typically, I enter 150 lineups in the flagship contest and a single lineup in a high stakes contest, usually the Monster on FanDuel. I've had solid results with MME overall, but for the single bullet entry into high stakes, I usually allow Saber to select which lineup goes into that contest. Lately, the lineup seems to land right around the cash line, either a mid-cast or just missing, without much apparent upside or path to a top-end finish. I'm not sure whether this is simply variance, but it feels like there may be something I'm overlooking in how I'm handling my lone high-stakes entry. I'd really appreciate your perspective on this. Apologies for the long-winded question, and thanks in advance for any insight. Okay, good question. So as far as like picking a lineup goes, right? I think that it is okay to be hands-on, especially when you're only playing one, right? Hey, I'm playing one lineup and I want to be particular, right? There's a number of ways that you can decide which lineup ends up being your lineup. Number one is, like you said, you let SaberSim choose it. Well, what are my alternatives, right? Alternative one is maybe you like the lineup, but there's only like maybe one or two players you don't like. Well, you can literally swap them out, right? And handpick the other players. You can look at a larger set of lineups and figure out which lineup feels the best and play that one, right? So a couple different ways we're going to talk about them. So let's just say we're going to build 500 lineups here. And I already activated the high stakes sim, which we're going to use. So I'm going to build some lineups. And we're going to let these lineups run. All right, build is about done here. So the sim is kicking off. So our sim is running. Let's see if this works. Cool. So we're using Portfolio now. This is like a recent fix, actually, that I saw, that you can use Portfolio without a file uploaded, which helps for this show because we do that all the time. So I'm using Portfolio mode, right? This is using Saber Score, but we're just going to leave it as is. So what I would consider doing, okay, is either one, like switching to expanded view, maybe looking at my top lineup, like, hey, you know, I'm kind of good with this lineup, but for whatever reason, I do not want to play Bam Adebayo, right? Okay, well, like, come into the card, click the trash icon, and then go and pick someone else that you like, right? Maybe I sort by projection. Next projected is Lauri Markkanen. Let's say I like Markkanen better. I add him to the lineup. I click save. I'm going to say overwrite original. And then now Markkanen is in the lineup, right? You can be that hands-on. You can take players out, put players in. That's one option. Option two is, well, hey, maybe I just crank this number of lineups up to like 10. And then maybe I got to diversify first. Now I just come in here and I scroll through these, or maybe I open up this lineup pane. That way I can see a couple lineups at a time. And, you know, I'm looking at these and I'm searching, and maybe I really like lineup 9, right? For whatever. Or I'm not going to pick lineup 9 because it has Bam and we just got off him. So maybe I like lineup 8, right? I really like lineup 8. Okay, I'm going to lock it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the number of lineups back to 1. I'm going to re-diversify. And then now that number 8 lineup is my lineup, right? Like that's another way. So if you were asking me which one I would use, I would probably do this one, you know, where look at a set of lineups, pick the one I like the most. There's one thing here, right? We used Portfolio mode. Portfolio is going to pick 10 lineups that kind of play well together. Since you're only playing one, maybe you want to switch to Uniques 1 and use, you know, ROI for the contest that you're in, and just like, hey, I'm going to look at the top 10 ROI lineups, or maybe you like to look at the top 10 portfolio lineups. You know, it's really up to you which way you would go here. And then you can sit through these, lock, you know, I like lineup 5, right? Okay, same thing. Lock it, turn it back to 1. And then now this contest is using ROI. All the other contests are using Portfolio. SaberSim is effectively skipping this contest when it is going to solve your portfolio because it is not using the portfolio function. The other way, right, where you're using Portfolio, the other lineups in your contest would take this into account, what you are playing, and that would get effectively baked into your exposures for your other contests. So keep that in mind as well. I would probably be sorting dollars per entry with like your highest. This would obviously be your highest dollar per entry contest, so it would be up at the top. All right. Good one there. Okay, so we have 2 questions here about templates, and we're gonna group these together. So first question was, hey Andrew, SaberSim, or hey Andrew, by chance, can you go over lineup groups? Is it better to have all your lineups in one group as direct fill, or is it better to have a lineup group per contest? My second question is, how many adjustments is too many exposures? Is it too much before it negatively affects the portfolio / quality of lineups? Second question is a little bit different. I'm going to focus on the first one. And then the first one is going to be grouped with this other one. Can you help me better understand templates? I play a ton of satellites while also playing single entry flagship 20 max on a nightly basis, currently using one group per contest. But is there a way for me to maximize it more? Okay. So I'm going to focus on like the groups and templates part here, right? Number one is I want to like really be clear about this. There is not one template that is better than the others. There is like, hey, you know, more users who use this one win more, and users who use this one win less. That does not exist, right? The templates are a way of effectively just managing your lineups and managing your contests. What you should be doing here is figuring out which template best works together with the style of player that you are. So like, for instance, right, the first question, the user who asked this one, they said in their second part, they said, how many adjustments are too many exposure changes before it negatively affects stuff? When reading this, right, I'm like, okay, this user likes to use exposures. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. The best template that complements this user, in my opinion, is direct fill. Like I would be telling this user, hey, it sounds like you're using, you know, manual tweaks. That's totally warranted. Use direct fill. It's going to be the friendliest for what you're trying to do. Then there could be a user who is not making any exposure adjustments, right? And they are just kind of taking what SaberSim gives them. And for that user, I think it is totally okay to use one group per contest, where if you want to, you can see the exposures in your different groups at just a glance, right? Or you can see the different ROIs, right? Maybe you care about, you want to see what the average ROIs are across different contests, but you're really not being hands-on as far as exposures go. That user is better served using one group per contest. Then there's the user who says, hey, I'm playing a bunch of contests, and maybe it's this other user here, right, who's saying they're playing a bunch of satellites. You know, hey, I'm playing single entry, flagship, 20 max, satellites, right? Well, maybe they don't want a unique lineup in each of their satellites. Maybe what they want to do is they want to build 150 lineups because they're playing a 150 max, and then they want to use that 150 across their 20s, their singles, and their satellites, because no matter what, they're not going to end up in a situation where their highest scoring lineup was in a satellite. And that feels terrible, right? They're like, hey, all of these lineups are going to be used in my 150. Any lineup that wins a satellite or something like that, I know for a fact is in my 150. So at least I have it there. And then maybe I also have it in like single entries and 20 maxes, and I can win multiple contests on a given night, right? None of those players are wrong, and a different template serves each of them. So I really want to, like, the most important thing I want to say is that there is not a wrong or right template. You got to figure out what kind of player you are. What does your contest selection mix look like? What does your process look like? And what template best complements you and makes your life easy, right? What template makes everything simple to look at a glance, helps you to move fast, and helps you to achieve, you know, before the slate starts, when you enter those lineups, right? Hey, I got everything done in a good amount of time based on my own, you know, time perception. I didn't have trouble getting what I wanted, and I'm really excited for these games to start because I'm comfortable with the lineups that are in my contest, right? Like that is the point you want to get to. All right. I want to circle back to this second question where it said, how many adjustments are too many before it negatively affects your lineups / quality of lineups? I think your best resources for this are going to be the aggregate metrics. When you make a change in your aggregate metrics, and let's say we bump this up to 20. And I'm going to change this ROI metric to the monster. Okay. When you, these are the three aggregate metrics I like. If you're on starter, saber score and projection. If you're on ultimate, projection and an ROI. That's why I have all three up here. When you make a change, right? Let's say we go to Karl Anthony Towns. He's 80% exposed, and I change him to 60, right? Right now my ROI is 54%. My projection is 327. When I change him from 80 to 60% exposed, well, these values are going to change. ROI went down 2%. Projection went from 327 to 326. Now, in my opinion, that's not a big change. There isn't like, hey, at 5 exposure adjustments, it's good, and then at 6, it's bad, right? No. Use these aggregate metrics to judge if you have gone too far or if your exposure adjustments are fine. The criteria being it doesn't move these too much. Going from 327 to 326, going down 2% ROI, totally fine, right? Very little movement. But if I set this, right, and I'm like, oh, no, I actually want to fade Towns, and I'm going to go below his ownership. Okay, well, my ROI went from 54% to 37%, and then my projection went down another 2 additional points for a total of 3, right? This is the builder's way of giving you feedback and saying, hey, you know, you can make this change, obviously, but like we don't really agree with it because now our ROI is going down rather fast. You know, we've lost, what, 5% is like, we're down a total of like 20% ROI here from the 50, 55 we started with. That's a lot, right? So use the aggregate metrics to dynamically answer that question because every day it might be different. Sometimes 2 adjustments might matter. Sometimes 10. Sometimes it's going to depend on how big of the exposure in one direction or another you're changing it. So use all those indicators, and that should help you to know when you may have gone too far. All right, next question. I have a starter plan and I adjust my min exposure from 7 to 15% for 2 to 4 players. Is that too much tweaking? And with that, should I use the template saber score greater than 0 for my lineup pool for all of my contests moving forward? Thanks. Okay, 2 questions. Number 1 is I do like the saber score greater than 0 filter. I think that's a good one for starter. So I would recommend it. Now, the answer, I didn't read this prior, but the answer to the first part kind of goes with the last question that we answered, right? Well, use these aggregate metrics to figure out if, you know, those tweaks are having a big impact. Personally, I don't think they will. 7 to 15% for 2 to 4 players doesn't sound like a lot, but this will give you a definitive answer, right? These aggregate metrics. So set those up. All right. Terry said, yo, what's going on, Terry? All right. Looks like a little back and forth here with Shadow and Dante in the Office Hours channel. Good stuff there. Checking, but I think we are all caught up here. A lot of good questions today. A lot of template-based stuff. Very important topics to be knowledgeable about and understand what they're doing. So very fun show today. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow, Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern for our next show. So until then, everybody, take care. Good luck. Thanks. Bye.